Hello and welcome to News Blitzer Global Desk. According to an October 23 Microsoft Threat Analysis Center or MTAC report, Russian actors continue to integrate generative AI into their content. Iranian groups ramped up their preparations to enable cyber influence operations, while Chinese actors have shifted focus to several down-ballot candidates and members of Congress. Russian actors have notably attempted to target the Harris-Walz campaign by attacking the candidates' characters, the MTAC report said. The MTAC also reports that Russian actors are responsible for creating a video in which a woman claims she was the victim of a hit-and-run car accident by Kamala Harris, the vice president, and also altered her speeches. That's not all. According to the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, or ODIN, Russia has generated the most AI content through text, images, audio, and video, while the online spread varies. These items contained also AI-generated content of and about well-known U.S. personalities and aim to boost Donald Trump's candidacy while depreciating his opponent from the Democratic Party, Kamala Harris. In July, the Department of Justice, or DOJ, also said nearly 1,000 fake profiles on X, formerly known as Twitter, were part of a Russian campaign. Further, as early as March 2024, the New York Times reported that websites Chicago Chronicle and the New York News Daily, both created on January 18, 2024, post fake political content including conspiratorial narratives, fake generative AI videos, and voice-cloned audio. All these reports bolster previous findings by U.S. intelligence that Russian players are attacking Kamala Harris's character, indicating Russia's preference for Donald Trump as president. Iranian actors, on the other hand, have used AI to generate social media posts and write inauthentic news articles for websites that appear to be real news sites. Reuters reports this content in both English and Spanish has targeted U.S. voters across the political spectrum on polarizing issues. Iran is reportedly using a campaign disguised as Bushnell's men. The campaign calls on Americans to boycott the elections due to the candidate's support for Israel. Additionally, the Iranian cyber group Microsoft tracks as Cotton Sandstorm has been actively scouting election-related websites and media outlets, suggesting preparations for more direct influence operations as Election Day nears, the MTAC report says. Iran, which primarily targeted Trump with disinformation as well as hacking into Trump's campaign, are surveying election-related websites and major media outlets, raising concerns they could be preparing for another scheme this year before polling day, says the report. ODIN intelligence officers on October 7 told the media, "Our assessment is Iran continues efforts to fuel distrust in U.S. political institutions and increase social discord and efforts to influence the presidential race through the hack and leak operation against former President Trump." An Associated Press report on October 23 reported that an Iranian-run profile even took to Telegram and X to call on Americans to sit out the elections due to the candidate's support for Israel. Iran also runs covert news sites to target U.S. voter groups. According to MTAC, an Iranian network, Storm 2035 is actively engaging U.S. voter groups on opposing ends of the political spectrum with polarizing messaging on matters such as the U.S. presidential candidates, the Israel-Hamas conflict, and LGBTQ rights. NeoThinker, a recently created site, says the report, targets liberal audiences and includes sarcastic and critical articles insulting Trump, including calling him an opioid-pilled elephant in the MAGA China shop and a raving mad litigiosaur. Another site, Savannah Time, focuses heavily on Republican politics and LGBTQ issues. China, meanwhile, is using AI to undermine and bring disrepute to American democracy in general, using divisive U.S. political issues, but not for any specific operations targeting U.S. election outcomes, says the report. Among the various fake content being created by foreign actors, the President Biden deepfake is the most high-profile example of the use of generative artificial intelligence to influence the American electorate. In another video, a park ranger impersonator claimed Harris killed an endangered rhinoceros in Zambia, as well as a video sharing baseless allegations about her running mate Tim Walz, which U.S. intelligence officials attributed to Russia. Importantly, MTAT said that some of the disinformation campaigns were amplified by unwitting Americans, exposing thousands to foreign propaganda in the final weeks of voting. This includes Donald Trump, who reposted a fake video that featured Taylor Swift endorsing him, as well as a Kamala Harris communist barb. Similarly, before calling off his presidential bid, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' campaign shared a video that contained AI-generated images of Donald Trump hugging immunologist Anthony Fauci, whereas the two can't stand each other in real life after clashing publicly during the COVID-19 pandemic. The main target groups of the AI-generated fakes are swing state voters and the diaspora. Russia in particular has targeted swing states with misinformation, fake websites, and similar activity, says Mia Hoffman, a research fellow at Georgetown Center for Security and Emerging Technology. As the electoral importance of these groups has grown, they are increasingly being targeted with tailored influence campaigns that aim to suppress their votes and sway their opinions, she told Time magazine. Patrick Warren, a co-director at Clemson University's Media Forensics Hub, told the New York Times, "The goal is not to fool a discerning reader, but to provide credibility to social media posts spreading the disinformation." As a result of the spate of AI-generated fake content, a Pew study published in September said that 57% of Americans adults, including almost identical shares of Republicans and Democrats, say they are extremely or very concerned that AI will be used to create and distribute fake or misleading information about the candidates and campaigns. Further, according to an Axios survey conducted by the Harris Poll, Americans' top concern around misinformation right now is politicians rather than foreign governments spreading it to manipulate their supporters. Importantly, MTAC, like the intelligence community, says AI-generated misinformation content and other forms of misinformation through social media will amplify as Election Day nears. And most worryingly, Odin officials say that foreign efforts to undermine America's democracy won't end on November 5th, but will continue their campaigns by calling into question the validity of the election's results after the polls close. The officials warned that Russia and Iran may try to encourage violent protests in the U.S. after the election. This corroborates the earlier October 7 U.S. Department of State warning that in such a contested post-election atmosphere, foreign actors probably will use tactics similar to those they are using today to undermine trust in the integrity of the election and election processes. The PEW study found that those surveyed hold the tech giants who run social media platforms largely responsible for the trend. Today, 79% of adults say they are not too or not at all confident that tech companies can stop the misuse of their platforms to influence the election, says the study. Elon Musk, who runs X, who has cast his lot behind Donald Trump, is accused of turning a blind eye to AI-generated political misinformation. In July, he even shared a video on X that cloned Vice President Kamala Harris's voice saying things she never said. The question that arises from all the AI-generated political misinformation content is, how much will it affect the election outcome on November 5th? Mia Hoffman says it's difficult to ascertain AI's influence on voters for several reasons, including lack of data provided by tech platforms. "We're at the mercy of what these companies share with us," Hoffman says. But what we do know is that the impact of misinformation has already clearly been seen in countries like India. In the U.S. context, what this means in the stiff competition between Trump and Harris is that, though it is difficult to quantitate its total effect, fake AI-generated political content and other forms of misinformation are bound to have a degree of impact which has the potential to tilt the balance to favor either one of the contesting candidates in a tightly contested election. Early this year, a group of researchers at Purdue University created an incidence database of political deepfakes, which has since logged more than 770 incidents of AI-generated political deepfakes in the U.S. Even if such deepfakes are reported, by the time they are taken down, if at all, the misinformation has done its damage in varying degrees. Consequently, the takeaway from all of this is that the U.S. presidential elections will be over in 4 days in an atmosphere of significant AI-generated political misinformation. It is imperative that the U.S. government cracks down on the media platforms that failed to curtail the misinformation or have made data unavailable to researchers to assess the magnitude of the problem so that the government can formulate more effective policies to curtail the menace. The platforms may have the right to run their businesses, but they definitely do not have the right to turn a blind eye to activities that undermine democracy or pander to the interest of governments anywhere in the world. We will continue our coverage of the U.S. presidential elections, and if you have not already done so, please subscribe to this channel to latest videos on major events around the world and do share the video. Thank you once again.